What's going on YouTube? So for 2020, Toyota has made a big addition to the Camry lineup. And that is for the first time, you can now get a Camry with all-wheel drive. Now that sets it apart from a lot of its competitors in the segment. And today we wanted to check out the all-wheel drive version for the first time. Now, of course, since all-wheel drive doesn't exactly change a lot with the actual product itself, we wanted to take the time also to sample a new trim level we've never seen before, the Nightshade edition. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to it. So right off the bat, I'll go ahead and start off with what exactly the Nightshade edition is. Basically, it's a trim that builds off of the SE and gives you a lot of these sportier elements from the higher end trim levels, but brings it down to an affordable sub $30,000 price point. So I'll go ahead and start off by showing off the front here. This part actually isn't very much different because the SE already has a pretty aggressive front end. So you've got the same black mesh grille from that model. You'll also have the same full LED headlights. This does not have the fancy arrangement from the upper end trim levels, but like I said, this part is full LED itself. And then squatting down here at your wheels, you're gonna notice an 18-inch alloy. Obviously it's gonna be fully blacked out to really add to that sporty look of the Nightshade edition. And then jumping up here to your mirror, this is always gonna be finished in black no matter what exterior color you choose. And for this Nightshade edition, it does come in either black for a stealth look, or you can also get white or silver if you prefer the contrast look. And then as far as what these actually do, they don't have any actual features just because this is a lower end trim level after all.
All right, so I'm going to start talking about the rear end right here next to this badge. Since this is the only distinguishable difference from a regular front wheel drive Camry is this all-wheel drive badge right here. Now, another thing I do want to mention regarding these badges is that on this Nightshade edition, they are going to always be blacked out, including your Toyota badge up here. In addition to that, you will have a blacked out spoiler across all of the Nightshades. And then dropping down to the taillights, these are just going to be the more basic taillights. They're not the upgraded ones from the XSE, which does mean you have an LED brake light. However, the rest of the taillight is incandescent. And then down here on this right side, you do have two exhaust pipes that are chrome tipped. Now, as with pretty much any new Toyota on the market, you are going to have their Toyota SafetySense safety systems as standard across all of the models. So that's going to include forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, dynamic radar cruise control, auto high beam headlamps, as well as lane keeping assist. Well, that's it for this blacked out exterior of this SC Nightshade edition. So now let's go and hop on the inside, see if Toyota's put anything in there before we take this all-wheel drive model out on a spin.
So on this specific Nightshade model, since it is based on the SE trim level, you will find a keyless entry system with the switchblade key as standard equipment. Now be aware that you cannot get the convenience package on the Nightshade model like you can on the SE model, so you'll never have smart entry. And then taking a look inside of the cabin, of course this is your typical Camry design, all blacked out because this is the Nightshade model. So this is going to be the only way you can equip this interior, fully black, and then of course you have the black leatherette seating with the color contrast inserts. As far as the door trim, of course, it is also black. You have a nice soft touch material on the armrest, and it is soft along the top as well. And then all four of your windows are going to be one-touch auto up and down. Checking out the seats, we have the 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. Of course, that's standard on all but the very base L model. And then like I was mentioning, we have the really nice looking leatherette seats. I do like this insert, definitely a cool design. You even have a little fabric part right there. definitely nice and comfortable as well. Now, obviously, being the all-wheel drive model is not going to impact the design of the cabin or the materials. So across your upper dashboard, this will continue to be a soft touch plastic. Dropping down to the middle, you have this cool textured plastic look, which kind of spins down through here. We have leatherette in the middle with genuine color contrast stitching. And then along your very bottom here, this is all going to be hard touch, of course, but everything does fit together, flawlessly, like typical in the Toyota lineup. Now, of course, to start up here, we do have the switchblade key. And since the focus of this review is basically going to be on the all-wheel drive system, since that's what's new, I'm going to go through this cabin pretty quickly here on this SE Nightshade edition. So what you'll be looking at here is actually your premium gauge cluster. So Toyota has thrown in the 7-inch display right there in the middle with your analog gauges, and that is an upgrade over the regular SE model. And then coming back to the steering wheel, of course you have electric power assisted steering and a nice leather wrapped steering wheel. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Heating is not available until you get to higher end trim levels, and then you also have some paddle shifters thrown in. And now let's go ahead and check out the interior storage. Since this is a pretty stylish cabin, let's see if we still have plenty of space. Alright, so now opening up this center console, I have to say this is really large, especially for a midsize sedan. Quite a lot of space, a nice felt lining at the bottom of it. Looks like we can actually get these coupons in there without even folding them. Very impressive for a midsize sedan. Now you also will find 2 charging USB ports right there. Up in the front here, we have a really nice pad for sticking your phone. You've got some more connections right there. This actually will slide out of the way as well, and you have another little bin for sticking something and kind of concealing it. Coming back to the shifter, of course it is just a regular shifter, so you pull back for drive, bump over here to the left to shift manually, or you can use those paddle shifters I already mentioned. And then when you go into reverse, you will just find a standard backup camera, since this is based on the SE trim level, so you won't find any active trajectory or parking sensors. However, one nice touch is that, like in other Toyota models, we have an automatic electronic parking brake, which does engage when you go into park, and you also have the brake hold function. Now moving on up the dashboard here, we come to our climate controls. On this trim level, it's going to be a single zone automatic setup. As you can see, you have big knobs here for easy functionality, and then everything is located right here. And the next thing we'll check out is the audio system. Now this of course has the standard 6-speaker sound system, just like the vast majority of the trim levels, so we'll go ahead and take a quick sample of it. Overall sound quality is quite nice, especially for the basic sound system. Okay, so now that brings us here to our main display here. This is going to be the standard 7-inch display, once again, since this is based on the SE trim level. And it does have, the typical fare of information. You've got a bunch of shortcuts along the side, and it is the newest Intune 3.0 system. Now, like the rest of the Camry lineup, the big news for 2020 is the addition of standard Android Auto, in addition to the Apple CarPlay that was already on board. And then on this trim level, you will not be able to get integrated navigation, but you can get that, of course, on higher end trim levels. Now jumping on up, we have a manual dimming mirror. And then up at the very top here at the roof, you will notice we don't have a moonroof. That is worth mentioning though, because you can get a moonroof, of course, on the SE as well as the LE if you get the convenience package. But here on this Nightshade edition, you cannot get that package, so you will never have a moonroof.
Now the Camry's rear seat is always an area where this vehicle shines because it has a lot of space and comfort, and I'm not going to bore you with too many details back here since nothing is really different for this all-wheel drive or this SE Nightshade Edition. However, there is one difference for the all-wheel drive model, and that's going to be this center tunnel right here. You will notice that it's actually quite large. It sticks about 6 or 7 inches up off the floor, which would be missing if you go for a front-wheel drive model. Now, as far as your features, this SE Nightshade, you're not going to have vents or outlets or anything like that. And the legroom is going to come in at the same 38 inches of both leg and headroom, which is a little bit below the Honda Accord. Now, walking up to the trunk on this SE Nightshade, there's not a button, so we have to use the key fob. However, it is really nicely dampened and does open all the way up. And as far as your space is concerned, all of the models are going to come in at 15.1 cubic feet in this Camry. And as far as how you finish it, it is finished nicely. You have a carpeting along the floor, and if you lift up the floorboard, you will find a spare tire. And of course, your seats can fold 60-40 split. The seat on this SE model is going to be manually adjusting, and as far as the glove box, it is dampened, however it's not felt lined, and it's also a little bit smaller than I would have imagined. It's not very wide, however it can go back a pretty good depth, so the coupons fit in there just fine. You may just not be able to see them. And then up top we have a mirror, the detachable sun visor, and it does have an extension in the end.
Here in the all-wheel drive Camry, what you'll be looking at is the basic 4-cylinder engine that the vast majority of Camrys always come equipped with. That's your 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine, naturally aspirated, 203 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. So just like in the front-wheel drive model, you know, power feels pretty good. That's definitely on the upper end of the segment for power figures. You know, and getting up to speed, it definitely feels a lot spunkier to me than you know, most in the class do.
Especially like the Honda Accord with that naturally aspirated 1.5 turbo engine. I think this feels pretty much quicker than that. Now, the really important thing worth noting here with the all-wheel drive is this is not available with the V6 engine. So that's the really big thing, is that it's just not compatible with the V6 option. So you're not going to have that 301 horsepower upgraded option if you wanted a fully loaded out one. So just keep that in mind. You can get the XSE trim, which will have 206 horsepower instead of 203, but that's as much power as you're going to get out of this all-wheel drive model.
The other thing I'm a big fan of, and is an advantage over a lot of the competition, is that the Camry has an 8-speed automatic transmission. Of course, a lot of the competition has continuously variable transmissions, which people are, you know, some people don't mind, some people do mind. But here we just have the traditional powertrain setup, 8-speed automatic, just really nice and smooth. Definitely seems plenty responsive around town and in normal driving situations. And, you know, with all-wheel drive system, you don't really see anything particularly different about it. You know, still everything's operating, you know, nice and responsively. We do have paddle shifters on this SE Nightshade Edition. You know, so you can control that as well if you want to.
Yeah, really, and just the beauty of, you know, having the all-wheel drive is, you know, it is a Camry, so it's not going to be like a snow plow or whatever. But, you know, if you are in the event of, you know, snow or something on the ground, this Camry is going to be able to handle it a lot better than most of the competition, because most of the competition is front-wheel drive only. Now, the only other one in the class is the Ultima. That does offer all-wheel drive, but...
The Legacy.
Or, yeah, the Legacy as well, but... it's definitely going to be a good thing to have in this segment of vehicle, especially with the very popular Camry.
Right, and even just rain, you know, anybody with a front-wheel drive car knows if you, like a heavy rain or something, you know, and you give the throttle too fast,
Yeah.
you know, you can spin the wheels. It's just kind of an extra reassuring feel, and it's not too much of a price premium, a little over $1,000, and you know, you can feel reassured that you're going to have more stability and more safety as you go around in your daily life.
Now that all-wheel drive stability is going to be our slam dunk for this Camry, because you are getting that for an under $30,000 price point, which is really a very impressive package overall.
Then as far as your airball, what we discussed is we think that since this is based on the SE trim level, it should still have the convenience package available on this Nightshade model, but it does not, so you do miss a few features that a lot of people might want to add, like the moonroof, the smart entry, stuff like that. You know, I think that should be available if you want the extra features, because this is a very good looking package and you may very well want to add that to this package. Even the sportier oriented models, they ride very nice and smooth as well. And one of the things I really enjoy about all the Camrys and the entire lineup is that right there, just great chassis control, really nice steering. You know, Toyota's really done a lot of work in this area with their new chassis, and it really shows. It's one of the best in the class for sure.
Now, as far as your fuel economy is concerned for this all-wheel drive, you are going to lose a little bit of the MPGs over the regular front-wheel drive model, as you would expect. So it's going to come in at 25 city, 34 highway, 29 combined, which compared to the front-wheel drive model, that comes in at 32. So you're losing 3 miles per gallon combined when you choose this all-wheel drive system. So that is something to keep in mind. You know, you got the price premium for all-wheel drive, but you also are going to pay a little bit more at the pump for that peace of mind. So just keep that in mind as you're considering if you should go for a front-wheel drive or an all-wheel drive Camry.
But all in all, this all-wheel drive Camry is fundamentally the same Camry, and that's definitely a good thing, because this Camry has always been really strong in a lot of areas, especially in the driving dynamics since this generation came out. You know, and it's just really nice to see the addition of all-wheel drive. Like I said, it's just another thing that helps the Camry to stand out. You know, and if you really want all-wheel drive, your choices are a lot more limited in the segment, but now you have one more really good option.
Alright, now as far as the pricing for this all-wheel drive Camry, the most important figure you're going to be concerned with is how much additional is the all-wheel drive system over front-wheel drive, and it's going to be $1,400. It is available on all of the trim levels except for the L model, which it's not available, and do keep in mind the engine configurations as we've talked about in the powertrain. Now, this particular SE Nightshade all-wheel drive is going to start at $28,270. We have optional floor liners for $259, and then the destination charge of $955 brings this one as equipped to $29,484, which is a pretty good price point. You're getting a really nice exterior design. The interior is pretty solid overall, and it is under that $30,000 price point for an all-wheel drive vehicle in this segment, which is very rare. Well guys, that's going to be it for this in-depth look at the 2020 Toyota Camry SE Nightshade all-wheel drive. If you've made it this far in the video, I know that means you enjoyed at least a little bit, so you need to help us out by hitting that subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.